Importance of preserving freedom. No. Main purpose is preserving freedom.
Yeah.
Okay. And then defending yourself. That's a big one.
Defending yourself. Yeah,
everyday
self-defense.
life. Yeah. And
the preservation of people and freedom.
Good enough.
Yeah.
For self and state.
Mm-hmm.
Good enough. Cool.
Ready?
Ready. Welcome back. Episode 3 of Lead Society. Christian and Christian. And today, we're going to be discussing the importance of having firearms. Why is it so important to have firearms? Take it away, buddy.
So, the importance of having firearms is for several reasons. Obviously, we all know about the Second Amendment. We know about the Declaration of Independence when it comes to, the right of the people to abolish a tyrannical government. And a tyrannical government is a government that no longer has the interest of their people first, but their own self-interest. And not only their own self-interest, but that they are actually detrimental to their people.
So what's going on right now?
Pretty much is going on right now. And probably what I'd like to get into in maybe the next episode is to...
Always another podcast.
Is in Declaration of Independence. I didn't really realize it. It actually states
mm-hmm.
what the King of England was doing that made them feel that he was tyrannical. And I never knew that, which is kind of cool because, there's always that question of when is it a tyrannical government? There's always leading up to tyranny,
mm-hmm.
but where is that line of now we have the right to abolish our government? Because there's many individuals who can think our government's bad, and we call them domestic terrorists. But it's when the majority realize, hey, there's a problem. You're no longer for the people.
Right.
Then it's no longer domestic terrorism. It's the right of the people.
Yeah,
so where's that line? And it actually kind of gives you a bullet points of what is that line. And I didn't really know that before. So I thought that'd be pretty cool if we maybe put that on the screen or something, or we go look at it with a list and just say, okay, yep, that's happening.
Yeah.
Yep, that's happening. So it can be somewhat of an opinionated thing about if we feel it's happening in culture.
Mm-hmm.
But that'd be cool to get into as well. But
yeah, for sure.
The importance of firearms is so that we can have the freedoms that we have and preserve those freedoms. You can't have freedom in this world without having a way to achieve it. Mm-hmm. Which is usually by, like it's always been, war.
Mm-hmm.
And being able to protect oneself. It's just been throughout history. There's no free country without guns or without weapons. At this point in life, in society, in history, it's firearms.
Yeah.
Before it may have been arrows, it may have been spears and swords, but without weaponry, you can't be a free state or nation.
Right. I think every great nation ever, England before America was here, Alexander the Great, the Mongols, the Chinese, whoever it is, have had mass armies, mass weapons, things like that. And a nation without that just starts crumbling down, and the government just completely overreaches into their people.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's starting to kind of happen here. They're trying their best to do so. And that's a big deal of how you can keep your freedom is by putting your foot down and saying no. Practicing freedom every single day.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever that looks like. Even carrying a gun. That's another big one, is for self-protection. Car crashes are much more likely to happen than getting shot.
Yeah.
But nowadays there's a lot of loonies out there, and you don't know what's going to happen. So it's better to be prepared and have it than not. It's better to carry something on you than not have something.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I carry a med kit in my car.
Yeah.
I'm not expecting that, I'm going to get in this massive car accident and whip out this med kit and, tourniquet my arms up because I'm bleeding out of my appendages and, save my family's life. It's just not how it works. It's better to have it than not have it, because if someone's in need, you can help them.
The cost of not being prepared, if you are that 1 or 2%, is life-threatening.
Yes.
In every occasion it happens,
right.
It's always life-threatening.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting because, you think people's arguments like, well, what's the likelihood that that would happen? What's the likelihood you would need your firearm in a situation? Well, we have fire extinguishers by, I don't even know if it's by law, but by code in every building, in every unit.
Yep.
Do you know how many people die in house fires?
I
did the study a lot.
A lot.
I did the study a while back. Nowhere near the amount of domestic violence cases, the amount of people who die in muggings or any of these things. It's
certainly.
so much lower.
Yeah.
So much lower. Yet,
Sure.
I'm not saying we should make it mandatory to have a firearm. I'm not saying that would be a bad idea.
not
If
a
some
bad
towns
idea.
wanted to do it, that wouldn't be a bad idea.
Yeah.
But like, it's a lot more likely to need a firearm in a situation than it is to need a fire extinguisher. And yet we have a fire extinguisher everywhere. Because no different than like a water leak in the house. When there's a situation that requires, if there's a fire and you need a fire extinguisher, it's like the worst thing in the world when you can't stop it yourself.
Yep.
If there's a water leak and you don't know where the shutoff is, it's like the worst thing you could deal with. And
Yep.
it's the same thing if you are in a situation where a gun is the only solution to that situation and you don't have the tool you need for that solution, it could be detrimental.
Detrimental or deadly.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't really run faster than a bullet.
Yeah, you
It's
can't.
good to have something to defend yourself with.
Yeah.
So, but those are really the two main points. People can say, "Oh, I don't need medical stuff. I don't need to train with that because I got the EMTs. That got me. I don't need a fire extinguisher. I got the firehouse is 10 minutes down the road. I don't need a gun. I got the cops. No big deal. The cops will not be at your house within 30 seconds of someone breaking in, trying to murder your whole family so they can steal everything. The firefighters, firefighters are not going to show up 30 seconds after your stove catches on fire and you try to pour water on it. And the EMTs are not going to be right around the corner playing patty cake waiting for you to get in a car accident that launches you out of your car and you're bleeding out of everything. Just not going to happen. This is knowledge and it's preparedness. This is real life. Things like this happen daily. We live in Florida with lots of snowbirds where you can easily get in a car accident because they're older and they have a hard time driving. But if you don't have something that can help you out in a bad situation, it's going to be costly. It could be your life. It could be your family's life. It could be it could be a major injury. It could be paralysis. It could be whatever. It could be a lot of things. So, I mean, you are your own first response, and I'm taking that from somebody, and I'm sorry, but I will repeat it. You are your own first responder. If you're prepared enough and you are well trained enough, you will do just fine. Bringing it back, that is a great reason why everybody should have a firearm of a sort.
Yeah.
And who should be prepared and well trained to do so. It's not pushing for anything, it's just advocating for the people. And it's saying, hey, you can do it. Everyone started somewhere. We both started with video games. Everyone's got to start somewhere.
Hunting.
Or hunting.
Or
Well, I'm the only nerd here. But, everyone's got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Everyone has their thing.
Mm-hmm.
Guns is one of our things. Maybe it's not your thing. Maybe that's not someone else's thing.
Yeah.
But it can get you a long way in the long run if something were to happen. Maybe maybe it doesn't. Great. Go shooting at the range. It's a great time.
Yeah.
Great way to mess around with your buddies. Especially standing right behind them when you're on the long range. You're like just tapping their shoulder a little bit when they're about to come on!
Just enough so they miss the shot.
Yes, just enough. Like talking in someone's backswing when they're golfing. It's great.
Yeah. I've done that.
So good. You got anything else?
It's very similar to. I don't see it any different than driving, as far as like the reason why you should be proficient. If you think about it and you break it down, because a lot of people don't like firearms because they don't understand them or they think they're dangerous, more dangerous than they are.
Mm-hmm.
Like, can a firearm take someone's life? Yes, that's their intended purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Firearms are not the best way to handle lethal force if they weren't themselves lethal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, how do you stop or beat a force? It's with greater force.
Yep.
It's everywhere in life. If you want to stop a force, you got to apply greater force. You have to do something above it. Like the biggest armies or the strongest armies are usually the ones that have the most peace in their countries. Well, I shouldn't say peace in their countries, but have the least amount of other countries affecting their own country as far as war goes.
Yeah, I can
The
see that.
strongest, I wouldn't say borders, but the strongest defense are usually the countries that have the biggest armies.
Sure.
This means the most free countries, but I mean China's an example of that. But no one's really messing with China because
True.
of their army and because of their financial strength in everyone's pockets, which is a different conversation. But
Yes. Not
Um,
advocating for China.
yeah,
China's a big.
but you have to respect who you got to know who you're up against, and
Sure, yeah.
they're a great adversary.
Yep.
But guns are dangerous.
Yes.
You can kill somebody.
Sure.
You can also go your whole life and never hurting or injuring a single person with a firearm, and you can carry it every day. No different than a car. You're driving a 2,000 plus pound vehicle in many cases. If it's a truck, if you're here in Florida, a lot of people have trucks or SUVs. Those are like what 7,500 pounds. And
You got a big load. It could be.
yeah.
Yeah.
But,
But, yeah,
you're talking a big thing going
Yeah.
at a good speed. Even if you're only going 15, 20 miles an hour, you can still run over somebody.
Oh, yeah.
You don't need to be going that fast.
Mm-hmm.
And there's people walking all over the place.
Yep.
There's nothing keeping you from striking another individual with your car except you paying attention.
Yep.
And it's no different with a firearm. Cars are dangerous and a lot of people die in car accidents. A lot of them is just negligence. They don't pay attention. They're texting, they're driving, or they're drinking. They're doing something that's taking their attention from where it should be as they're doing something that's dangerous. And anytime you do something that's dangerous and you're not paying attention, someone gets hurt. Same with firearms. They're no different. I carry a firearm every day, and I've never hurt a single person with it. I've never hurt myself, never hurt another individual. But if you do the things you should that keep you from being not safe, it's not a problem. But what you gain from it, what you gain from driving a vehicle every day, how fast you get to places, the ease of commerce with business, being able to take your kids to sports, you go to the grocery store, it's a very convenient and nice thing to have. And the same
That's
thing with a
great.
firearm.
Yeah.
It's a nice security to have, knowing that there are people who want to do harm and no law can prevent them. No police officer can prevent them. You're not going to have a police at everybody's house.
Yeah.
We would not advocate for that because that's not freedom.
No.
You're the most responsible and you're the most dependable to take care of your own situation.
Yep.
It's your job as an individual to take care of yourself, not somebody else's. The more you rely on other people to take care of you and your family, the more your trust is in them, the more they control you. Anytime you're dependent on somebody else, the less free you are. If I relied on the bank to give me money, well, guess what? I don't own that thing. I don't technically own it. They own it.
Yep.
And if they want it back, they can take it back.
Yep.
It's not mine. You know what I mean? If my kids are going to school and I don't pay attention to what they're being taught, it's not the school's fault. It's my fault, and it's my kid who's getting affected by it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? If I don't know how to put a fire out, and the fire department doesn't get here in time, and it was just a simple fire, even if it was a big fire, it probably was my fault. Still not their fault. It's
Yep.
not other people's fault to solve a problem that is your problem.
It's your responsibility.
You know what I mean? You may pay the fire department on your taxes. You may pay but they're not going to be, they're life-saving at a certain point.
Yep.
You know what I mean? If someone's knocking at your door, they're not going to get there that fast.
No.
You're probably not going to be able to call them quick enough.
No.
And they're not at every corner, nor would we want them to be. You know what I mean? Because then we'd be a police state, and we don't want that. And the most freedom is when you are you're the person who dictates what happens.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, I get to choose what schools my kid goes to. I get to choose what food I eat. That's freedom. Well, that comes when you take responsibility for your own things.
Yep.
And that's just the reality of it. And if you want that freedom, which, by the way, you can choose not to have firearms, and that's up to you.
Sure.
But as we talked about before, I think it was last week, is the freedom isn't to do whatever you want.
Yeah.
The freedom is to do what's right.
Yep.
So we could have freedom in America and everyone choose to give up their guns. You know what would happen? We'd all lose our freedom because we have no guns to defend ourselves. So some things you have the free will to do doesn't make them right and doesn't
Right.
make them beneficial,
Yeah.
even if it's lawful. There's a lot of things that are lawful that are not right to do,
No.
even though you have the freedom to do it.
Yeah.
So that would be the biggest thing I would say, is the preservation of oneself, the people around them, and in doing that, you're preserving freedom for you and others. You know, that's
Yeah.
how I see it.
Being an example as a whole.
Yeah.
You know, even one person, it takes one person to start something. And once it starts, the whole is the whole country comes together in that sense. Not even the whole country, if a good portion of it comes together and says, "Hey, this is not happening. You're not taking my stuff. Doesn't matter if you're not taking what's mine.
Uh-huh.
Our freedom is ours.
Yeah.
You're not taking my firearm that I can rightly defend myself with against a tyrannical government."
Yeah.
So, but it's no good to have a gun unless you train with it. Train with your guns.
Same thing with the car. If you buy a
Yep.
car, doesn't mean you know how to drive it. And if you don't know how to drive your car, you're a danger to yourself and everyone around you.
Yep.
That's why kind of guns are no different.
Yep.
Because
Exactly.
every tool's the better the tool, the more dangerous that tool is without training. Because there's a lot of great tools out there.
Yes, there are.
You know, you think of these great tools like what they use in construction, like these water jets. All these things are all very dangerous things if you're not careful. You can cut your fingers off.
Oh yeah.
Chop saw, great thing, great tool, but it could take a bunch of fingers if you're not careful. Hedge trimmers, everything that, but it's true.
It is true.
My
Yeah.
dad almost lost his finger with the hedge trimmer. It was like dangling, and they had to reconnect it. But you know, every great tool, like cell phones, like computers, every great tool can cause great damage if not used properly.
Yep.
And I would rather utilize the great aspects of it, and that comes with just learning and training, just like anything else.
Yep.
So don't have that false sense of security that you have a gun, you're good to go.
Yeah.
If you think that way, I challenge you, go to the range and shoot a target at 5 yards and see how often you miss. Because with a handgun, you are guaranteed to miss if you never practice. You may get a good first couple shots, and after that, beginner's luck kicks in, and now you're actually scared of the recoil because you weren't the first time, you start to miss. And that's only 5 yards.
Yep.
And if you think 5 yards is good enough, you're just going to point and shoot, I challenge you also to measure the distance between your front door and your main bedroom or whatever you would be coming out of, whether it's your kitchen, your bedroom, especially your bedroom, and see how far that shot is. Some people's houses are 30 yards
Yep.
between their master bedroom and the front door.
Yep.
Or their master bedroom to the back door.
Yep.
They're not easy shots when you're under stress, you're scared, you're nervous, you don't know what's going on, you just woke up. You know, not everything is just like bang, bang. That's not always the typical situation of self-defense. You know,
Yep.
they do say it's like, was it like 3 to 7 yards or 3 to 7 feet is a typical situation. Like usually someone trying to steal something from you, you're out in public.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
But, you know, you're dealing with different things now. Now you're dealing with multiple people breaking into a home at one time. You know what I mean? You get a gang of like 4 or 5 guys just rushing a door. You see so many videos on YouTube now, people just rushing front doors. You know, whether they pretend to be Amazon and then everyone else runs in.
Yeah.
You know, you can't just pop off 2 shots in the chest and you think you're good to go.
Yeah.
Like you need some sort of proficiency.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's a disservice to you and others if you don't go practice. I'm not saying you have to be a Navy SEAL. Not saying you have to be like, oh, I go out every week. But do yourself a favor and train just for you. Just train enough that you don't feel like scared of your gun. If you're scared of your gun, you don't train enough.
Yep.
That's just a good way to think of it. If you're scared of your gun, you don't train enough.
Right. Agreed.
So, I don't know if you want to add anything else.
Practice your draw stroke if you're doing concealed carry too.
Yeah.
Because if you wear different shirts, it affects different things. A t-shirt versus a button-up, big difference. Because if that bottom button gets caught on your belt, it's going to take you a lot longer to pull your gun out.
Yeah. And if there's no
Small
flex
one.
in your shirt, no stretch.
Yeah, that's true. Like this one.
Yeah, no stretch.
It's food for thought. Just
Yeah.
think about it. That's all I got.
Yep, that's it for me too. Trying to keep these short.
See you next time.
See you next week.
Cool.